Hey everybody, Garrett here, and today we're going to shoot a statement video and give you a little history on what motivated me to get into the mental health career field. So let me just jump right in. What cultural identities, values, and experiences led you to consider a career in counseling? For me, culturally wise, I would say the military had the biggest aspect. Um, for those that don't know, in the military, mental health wasn't really talked much back when I was in. And maybe still to this day, it isn't talked as much as it should be. I believe it's getting better, but I think it still has a ways to go. But when I came in, mental health was not a thing that we discussed regularly. Um, so I wasn't familiar with counseling back then. And it wasn't until way later and many deployments and until I started getting help for myself, that I knew what counseling was. As for values, I've always valued making people laugh. That's just what I love to do. And by making them laugh, it makes me feel better. And so I've always been able to look at the humor in things. And even in the darkest times, I've been able to find something humorous, and it's helped keep me on track, and it's got me through many deployments, many dark spots. And so that's something I value, and that's what I like to use to help others get through some difficult times, if you will. Um, how did your family, friends talk about mental health when growing up? Um, as a child, I was raised in a traditional Italian Catholic household. Um, so I have very little memory of my family ever sitting down to discuss how we felt or how we were doing mentally. That's just not something that we did. I can count on one hand the amount of times I saw my dad cry. Um, so for my sister and I, if we needed emotional support or we were going through something, we would more than likely go to my mom. And then um, she was the one that would be the empathetic or sympathizing one, and she would give us the love and comfort that we were yearning for at the time. And outside of that, um, we would just lean on our friends. All our friends, were we were all similar. We all grew up in similar households with similar backgrounds, similar beliefs. They were all Italian Catholic. So we kind of all knew what stresses we faced, and we just leaned on each other when need be. In our family and structure was pretty much the same way. I don't think there was a whole lot of discussing going on about how anybody felt emotionally. Um, do I view counseling as an essential field? Why or why not? Um, I think counseling has always been an essential field, but due to stigmas, ignorance, lack of resources, I think that it might not always been an option for many. For many reasons, not to only include the ones I mentioned, but for many more. Um, I've lost a lot of friends to suicide over the years, more to suicide than any deployment. And so I think it's very essential. I think the military needs to do a better, way better. Um, Military needs to do way better in providing resources for soldiers that need it, as well as the VA and anybody that was once in the military and gets out. You know, it's getting better, but it's not where it needs to be. and it needs to get there faster because there's a lot of people dying. Um, and so for me, in my hopes, I got into it in hopes that with my background, with my experience, that maybe I can reach other soldiers who don't quite feel comfortable talking about it, but maybe they can see somebody that's maybe reminds them of themselves and feel comfortable in talking. And if I can just help at least one soldier from you know going down the route of suicide, then I guess my journey was worth it. um what are your thoughts about how people change? Well, as with anything, anybody is able to change as long as they have the desire to do so. So I think the first part of change is is recognizing and identifying the need to change, whatever it is. Um, and then once you identify that, then it's being able to commit to it and knowing that your environmental surroundings have just as big of a role in it as any. So, being cognizant of who you surround yourself with and the role models and the environments that you put yourself in, and hopefully that you choose better, more positive environments, so you have a better chance, better outcome. um but as long as people have as long as someone is able to recognize the need or identify the need, they have the support that's needed. Support's very important. And the resources, then I think change is very possible. I'm living proof. What council and setting in our populations are you interested in serving? As everybody's well aware now by the video, I want to serve the veteran population. I just feel that with my years of experience, um, I can connect with them the most. Um, whether it's with anxiety, depression, PTSD, suicidal ideations, addictions, divorce, financial, whatever it may be. I've probably been there. I've probably experienced it. I've probably done it. And if I haven't, I probably have known somebody who has. Um, and so that's kind of where my heart is just dealing with anybody that's ever served in the military, um, or any public service field for that matter. um, I think that there's a lot of people out there in these public service fields that put so much energy into helping others, but often forget to take care of themselves. And so, I that's where I'm passionate, and that's the population that I really want to work with. What skills do you believe will help you in this field? Well, I think 23 years in the military, I've gained a lot of skills that help me in this field. Resiliency is always preached in the military. We're probably the best, if we are the best at training for resiliency. And so I think that's one skill that I have that's necessary, for a lot of different reasons, not only to prevent burnout, but a lot of other reasons. Um, my empathy, when working with this population, the fact that I have lived it, or I've known somebody that lived it, or I've been there, it's really easy for me to put myself into their shoes and see things from their perspective. Um, so, as much as I'm willing and wanting to learn other cultures, I think I will have the most benefit in dealing with the veteran population. And what is very cool about that is that there are many different cultures just within the military population, so that you are constantly always learning something new. But that's the population that I am the most passionate about, that I love, and that I really am very excited to go work with in the future. Um, what's what skills do I hope to gain from this program? I mean, the most important skill for me is the ability to successfully conduct individual, group, or family counseling sessions without causing any further harm to my client, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, culturally. Um, and I hope to become comfortable in identifying what assessment and diagnostic tools to use. And identifying when it is appropriate and not appropriate to utilize them. Um, and I think, not last, but um, what will come in time is just broadening my knowledge and awareness of our cultural differences, and how our cultural background has such a significant impact on our journey to healing. Um, and we're all different and we all heal differently. And I think that's what's interesting and unique about our profession, is that nobody is identical, and nobody heals the exact same way. So it's always new, and I get to learn. I get to learn with my client. We get to learn together, and so I think that's pretty cool in itself. And then, what misconceptions do you think people have about this profession? Oh man, the biggest misconception for the military is that you're weak-minded if you need counseling, and that's the biggest misconception ever. Matter of fact, I think it's very opposite. I think you are very weak-minded if you think you can fight everything on your own. So, I hope to eventually break that stigma, maybe one soldier at a time, that it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. We go to war well trained with teams, so we don't need to come back home and try to go at it alone, you know. Um, the other misconception is that you have to be suffering from a crisis or going through some kind of trauma to seek therapy or counseling. Um, I think it's always better to be proactive than reactive. So I think everybody in this day and age benefits from seeking some kind of therapy, whether they're going through some trauma or something significant at the moment, or just going about everyday life and just keeping a healthy and clear mind. So I think that the misconception is that you need to be going through something negative or something significant in order to go seek counseling. That's not true. You don't need to be going through any kind of stuff to go talk to somebody. Um, well, and that in a nutshell is kind of what got me down this path of counseling. This has been a different experience. I don't usually get on TV or get on camera or talk to anybody like this. So it's been different. But anyway, hopefully I met all the criteria. Again, thank you. And I look forward to working with you guys in the future. Take care.